Picture this: you've just lived through one of those perfect moments. Everything aligned. The words rose naturally to your lips. "I love you," you said. And then, silence. Not a comfortable silence. Not a thoughtful pause. But the kind of silence that feels like falling through ice. Sudden, cold, and disorienting. Maybe they smile. Maybe they change the subject. But they don't say it back. Your mind starts racing. Am I crazy? Are they heartless? Did I just hand my heart to someone who's already planning their escape route? But here's what we're going to explore today. What if that silence isn't rejection at all? What if, for them, those 3 words don't feel like a gift, they feel like a trap? Welcome to the Inverse Mind. Today, we're going inside the fortress of the silent heart, where love exists but the words feel like a death sentence. In our culture, we're taught a simple equation: feeling equals expression. If you love someone, you say it. The words are supposed to be the gold standard, the ultimate proof of commitment. So when someone refuses to speak them, we assume the worst. They're cold. They're uncommitted. They're 1 foot out the door. But let's step into their world for a moment. For the person who can't say these words, they aren't a bridge. They're a contract written in blood. The moment those words leave their mouth, something becomes real that was safely abstract before. It's the difference between standing at the edge of a cliff and actually jumping. Once they say it, they believe they've handed you a weapon. They've given you the power to destroy them, control them, or demand things they aren't sure they can give. Their silence isn't absence. It's architecture. It's the only fortress they know how to build. To understand this, we need to go back to the beginning. Most people who struggle with these words carry what psychologists call a dismissive avoidant attachment style. This isn't a choice. It's a survival mechanism forged in childhood. Imagine a child reaching out for connection. They're scared, or sad, or just excited about something. Instead of warmth, they're met with coldness. Or worse, they're met with nothing at all. Perhaps emotions in their home were treated as weakness, as inconvenience, as something to be controlled rather than expressed. That child learns a brutal lesson: my needs won't be met by others, so I must meet them myself. They learn that expressing their inner world only leads to pain. So they stop. They become self-sufficient. Masters of independence. By adulthood, they've built an entire life around not needing anyone. But here's the problem: love, by its very nature, requires need. It requires interdependence. For someone wired this way, saying "I love you" feels like admitting defeat. It feels like saying, "I'm no longer self-sufficient. I'm at your mercy now." Their nervous system registers this vulnerability as a physical threat. There's another layer here, something called alexithymia. It's not a disorder, it's a trait where someone genuinely struggles to identify and name their own emotions. They might feel warmth in their chest when they're with you, a sense of peace, maybe a flutter. But their brain doesn't translate that into, "This is love." Instead, they think, "My chest feels tight. I feel overwhelmed." Because they can't accurately name what they're feeling, they're terrified of getting it wrong. They're perfectionists of the heart. What if I say it and I'm lying? What if I'm committing to something I don't fully understand? Meanwhile, their amygdala, the brain's alarm system, is lighting up like a Christmas tree. When intimacy gets too close, when the expectation of confession arises, their fight or flight response kicks in. Then their prefrontal cortex, the logical brain, rushes in to manage the threat. It does this through rationalization. She knows how I feel. Actions speak louder than words. I don't need to say it. Logic becomes a shield against the raw terror of shared emotion. For many of these individuals, words have been weaponized in their past. Maybe they had a parent who said "I love you" right before doing something cruel. Maybe an ex-partner used the phrase to manipulate them into staying. The words became tainted, a red flag rather than a comfort. They start to see verbal affection as social engineering, a trick designed to make them lower their guard. By refusing to say it, they believe they're staying honest. They're refusing to use currency they consider counterfeit. To them, the silence is integrity. They'd rather give you a decade of consistent, reliable presence than one sentence that feels like a lie. Here's where it gets really interesting. Sometimes these people do break down and say the words. Maybe in a moment of intense emotion, their defenses crack. And you'd think they'd feel relief, right? Connection? Instead, they wake up the next day feeling deep shame. Exposed. Like they've shown too much of their soft underbelly. This vulnerability hangover is so unpleasant that they subconsciously vow never to let it happen again. If you're with someone like this, you might notice a pattern. After a particularly close weekend, they become cold on Monday. They're rebuilding the walls that love temporarily dissolved. Let's look at this from their perspective. What do they gain by staying silent? Control. As long as they haven't said it, they feel they have an exit strategy. They believe that if things end, it'll hurt less because they didn't go all in. It's emotional hedging, trying to preserve a margin of safety that will help them survive if they're abandoned. The tragedy is, by staying 10% out, they create the very distance and frustration that kills the relationship. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of isolation. If you're the person waiting for those words, here's what you need to know. Stop treating the I love you as the only valid metric. Learn to read their language of service. For the silent person, love isn't poetry, it's patterns. It's making sure your car has gas. It's remembering exactly how you take your coffee. It's showing up when they say they will, every single time. They're screaming their affection at you every day. They're just not using their voice. But here's the hard truth. If verbal affirmation is your oxygen, you can't survive forever on silent service. You need to communicate this without triggering their defenses. Don't say, "You never say you love me and it makes me feel unloved." They'll hear an accusation, a demand for surrender. Instead, try this. "I know you show care through your actions, and I value that deeply. But for my brain to feel settled, I sometimes need the words too. Can we find a middle ground?" For the person who can't say it, the leap from silence to I love you is too vast. It's like asking someone afraid of heights to base jump. You need to build stairs. Start smaller. Instead of saying I love you, try this. "I really value having you in my life." Or, "I feel safe with you." These are practice runs. They let you express emotion without the catastrophic weight of the big three words. Over time, as you realize that expression doesn't equal loss of control, the fear begins to fade. If you're the silent one, you need to interrogate your fear. Ask yourself, what do I actually believe will happen if I say it? Follow the logic. If I say it, they'll know I'm committed. If they know I'm committed, they might take advantage of me. If they take advantage of me, I'll be hurt. When you see it written out like this, you can spot the flaw. You're punishing your current partner for crimes committed by your past caregivers. You're living in a history that no longer exists. Understand this, your silence isn't neutral. To the person who loves you, your silence is loud. It's constant anxiety. It creates an instability that makes them work twice as hard to feel secure. This often makes them more demanding, which makes you want to withdraw further. It's a cycle that only breaks when someone is brave enough to be vulnerable first. There's also a darker truth to consider. Sometimes, withholding the I love you is a subtle power move. As long as you haven't said it, you hold the upper hand. You're the less invested party. In any negotiation, the person willing to walk away has all the power. This creates an imbalance that might feel like safety to you, but it's poison to intimacy. Real intimacy only exists between equals. If you're using silence to maintain superiority, you're not in a relationship, you're in a Cold War. The goal is what I call integrated sovereignty, becoming so secure in who you are that you can say, "I love you," without feeling like you're losing yourself. You realize the words don't belong to the other person, they belong to you. When you speak them, you're not giving away power. You're expressing your internal truth as a sovereign individual. This shifts you from defensive to active, from prey animal to conscious participant in your own emotional life. If you're the silent one, try this. Find one way this week to verbally acknowledge someone's value in your life. Maybe not "I love you," something smaller. "I really appreciated that." Or, "I feel better when you're around." Watch the reaction. Notice that the world doesn't end. Notice the light that enters their eyes when they feel truly seen. If you're waiting for the words, take a breath. Their silence is a map of their past pain, not a reflection of your worth. You can't force a flower to bloom by shouting at it. But you can create the right environment, safety, consistency, lack of pressure, that makes it feel safe enough to open. Love is a language we all speak with different accents. Some speak it in grand proclamations. Others speak it in the quiet rhythm of reliability. The most important thing is that we keep trying to translate for each other. We keep building bridges, even if they're built by one small and quiet word at a time. Because the silence might feel like safety, but the words, when they finally come from a place of true sovereignty, are what make us feel alive. Please talk to me in the comments below. Share your thoughts. I promise I do read and reply all the comments. The courtroom is closed. The judge has left the building. You don't have to defend your heart anymore. You just have to decide when you're ready to let someone see the architecture you've built. If this resonated with you, subscribe to The Inverse Mind. And tell me in the comments, do actions really speak louder than words? Or are the words themselves a necessary action? Let's explore the weight of those 3 little words below. I'll see you in the next one.